Thank you. So trust, is it the root of all evil? Is trust change everything? When they asked me to do this workshop, and that's what they said can you do a workshop after lunch that's interactive, new research, or at least sharing some research and getting people to talk to each other and share experiences? I thought, yeah, wine, I can do that. Yeah, wine. So that's what it's going to be. We're going to have a conversation around trust and the importance of that in building relationships. So just to give you some credibility, some of the organisations we work with and some of the locations that we're in. Harris poll. So actually trust is at an all-time low, if you look at the research. Only 12% of people trust large corporates. 22% trust the media. 8% trust political parties, which is rather worrying, isn't it? But this is the bit I don't get. Only 8% trust political parties, but 27 rather, trust the government. Something happens there, doesn't it? David Halpin, do you believe people can be trusted? In Africa, 18% of people think other people can be trusted. Latin America, 23%. USA, 34%. In the UK, in the 60s, it was 60%. Now, what do you reckon? Is it going higher or lower? God, I was sounding like a game show host there, wasn't I? Is it higher or lower, do you think? Sadly, it's 29% currently. So it is going down quite considerably, really. What are the high trust societies then, do you think? This is the audience participation bit of the day. And I've got books that I've written to bribe you if you start answering. No? No? Yeah, the Scandinavians, they're by far the highest trust. 68%. They're doing well, or relatively well, should I say. So why is trust at an all-time low, I wonder? So on your tables, I just want you to discuss, why is trust at an all-time low if all the research is saying that? Okay, 2 minutes in your tables to discuss that. So what are some of the reasons, do you believe, then? Transparency. That's certainly. Yeah, you're quite right. At our fingertips, certainly we've got information at our fingertips at all times, immediately, about people, famous or not, at our fingertips immediately, and we know things now about people in society that perhaps we wouldn't have known 20, 30 years ago. Yep. Couple more?
Economic inequality.
Sorry?
Economic inequality.
Yep. So greed is one of the key reasons why it's also changing. You're right, and that may be because people believe people's intent are not quite right. So economic and imbalance is correct. So other reasons. The financial crisis started a bit of a downward trend. Information at our fingertips, already said that. The MP's expenses, the corruption with the BBC, Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris, and we could go on, Dave Lee Travers and everyone else. If it's Ronnie Corbett next, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And then there was a spin as well. So all these reasons have taken trust down. Facebook, 350 million photos each day. I think my teenage daughter probably uploads half of those. Pictures of herself going like that, or a dinner. 500 tweets, 100 billion emails. I was coaching a CEO recently that said he had 1,172 emails in his inbox, and for the first 3 months of his role, he thought he was doing well because he cleared his inbox each night. He said the problem is suddenly performance in the organisation went down, and he just deleted them all. I think there is so much information coming out. Horrifyingly, Edelman, which is a global trust barometer, trust in NGOs has gone down. Greed and profit. People are saying 51% of people are saying innovation is too fast. And it's more about what's the reason for the innovation. The impact of trust. So this is interesting. Let's think about this. So anyone's read the book by Covey? Trust, when it goes up, speed goes up and costs go down. But equally, when trust goes down, speed goes down and costs go up. So let's just think about that. So Rob and I know each other. We've known each other about 7 years. I trust him. We go into a meeting. We have conversations. We disagree. Yeah. He says what he thinks. I say what I think. We have a real courageous conversation, but we come out and we're aligned. He's agreeing what he's doing. I'm agreeing what I'm doing. I go out of that meeting. We review a month later, a week later, whatever the deadline is. I haven't actually thought about that again. Think about this though. I've got someone else. Let's call him Brian. Brian, I don't really know that well. Brian's a bit political. So I go into that conversation. I've probably spoken to 2 or 3 stakeholders before I get in the room, checking out what he might be up to. When I go in there, I'm probably going to be guarded with what I say. I'm going to slow down my decision making because I don't want to be too transparent and vulnerable with him at the beginning because he may take advantage of that. We'll agree what we're going to agree, all right, we'll be slightly guarded, and then he'll leave. And I'll probably think about what he's doing for probably 10 times a day over the next week till we meet again. And that's going to drain my energy each time I do it. In addition to that, probably going to speak to a couple of people and maybe even catch up with him and see what actions he's following up on. So trust changes everything. When trust goes up, speed goes up, everything's quicker, and costs are low, both emotionally but also physically in terms of projects. But if trust is down, speed is down, and costs go through the roof. What I like to do is with your partners on the table, just think about someone you don't trust, and then think about someone you do trust. And think about what that's like in terms of your energy, but speed and cost. And then on both sides, someone you do trust and someone you don't trust. Okay, with your teams. So let's share some of our experiences then of our relationships that have got low trust then. What's it like?
Hard work.
Hard work. In what way?
It takes a lot of time, so you're investing a lot of time before you even get to where you need to get to.
You're right.
You're putting loads of energy in it and using your energy up.
Okay, so using energy, and it takes a lot of time to get that, and you're quite right.
It's just interpretation, actually. You can waste time worrying about the interpretation of the communication.
Oh, yeah, because you don't know their intent.
Communication was genuine in the first place.
This is a very important point in trust, actually. If you don't know someone's intent, you make it up. So if someone's not got a clear intent, then we start to think what could be their intent. So one of the key ways we can start to foster trust, and be that with our stakeholders, be that with our customer in the customer experience, be that with our teams, is if we're clear on our intent, and I mean authentically clear, then that's going to start to build trust, undoubtedly. So thank you for that. Others, what was it like in distrustful relationships?
No actions.
No actions, because?
Too busy pondering, keeping things close to your chest and not letting it all out and being indecisive and all the rest.
Yeah, certainly. That fear freezes us and we think we won't move forward.
No, I was just saying the lack of collaboration. So.
Yeah. The lack of collaboration. And in that lack of collaboration means that people start to work in silos, and we see that in organisations all the time, is that they're not collaborating even with their partners or other stakeholders in the organisation. And if you haven't got trust, actually that starts to really impact on the success of projects. Horrifyingly, 78% of projects had a root cause of poor stakeholder engagement. So the reason they failed was stakeholder engagement. So let's lift the mood a bit, because you probably notice the mood when you talk about people you don't trust, it drains the life out of us, doesn't it? So let's think about people that we do trust then. What are some of the characteristics of that?
Feels easy.
It's easy.
You work in parallel rather than in sequence.
Yeah, definitely. So you're working together aligned. Yeah, one more?
Productive.
It's productive, certainly, and it changes everything in terms of speed. So trust is a process. So we meet people and we acknowledge them. Now, humans, as we all know, seek similarity often. If you're like someone, you feel a connection, that often increases the speed of trust. But what's known less is there's different types of trust. So people often think, actually, if they trust me as a person, I'm honest, that means they'll totally trust me. No, it doesn't actually, because there's 2 types of trust. There's contextual trust, and then there's character trust. So let's take a couple of people I know. So a friend of mine, and I always use this test. Would I trust him with my life, my wife, and my man bag? I haven't got a man bag really, Rob, but if I did, would I trust him? And this friend of mine, and he is a friend, I would actually trust him with my wife. Happily married, he's a good guy, trustworthy in that respect. Would I trust him with my life? Yes, I would. He'd put himself on the line for me. Would I trust him with money? Yeah, he's honest. He's not into anything that would be taking money away from me. Would I trust him to deliver a project for you, not on your life? Yeah, he's disorganised, he's only interested in socialising his family, and he's very clear on that. I know somebody else that I know less well. Would I trust him with my wife? No, actually, he's had 4 affairs, 2 marriages, and he's on to his next one very shortly. Would I trust him with my money? No, he's had a few, shall we say, less successful business deals. Would I trust him with my life? Well, actually, if I had a tumour on my brain, even not on my mind, I would, because he is a brain surgeon. I would trust him in that one context. But what people mix up is they think because you're trustworthy in a context, i.e. you can deliver a particular project, deliver a particular skill, then people are going to trust you. No. But equally, if people trust you as a character and think you're a nice person, they may not think they can trust you in context. Because for that, you need credibility, you need reliability, so you need to say what you do and do it. You've not got what we call the say-do gap. So you say one thing, but do another. So what I'd like to do is, back in your groups, is think about someone that you don't trust and say, actually, is it them as a character I don't trust, or actually is it them in context I don't trust? Okay, back in your teams again. So as the trust starts to develop, we often start to understand people. And even if they're different from us, we start to understand them, which means often we respect them. And when we respect them, that often leads to liking them and like to trust. My question to you is, do you need to like someone to trust them? No, but it makes it a damn sight easier, doesn't it? And often, we don't need to trust them in context, but we do need to trust them as a character, and like is much more important in terms of character trust than it is contextual trust. It all starts, I guess, with a conversation. A connection conversation, an honest conversation, whatever you like to call it. But often, one of the key things about building trust is we have to make ourselves vulnerable. We have to share something about ourselves. And with that, some people just dive in like this. Other people just put their toe in the water. Some people never swim. They don't want to show any vulnerability. But one of the key things about building trust is you have to. You have to share a bit of yourself so the other person can connect. Trust is a two-way process. So often I coach teams, and what I do is before we do some diagnostic interviews, and I get them all on a one-to-one basis. And I've often taken photos of each of their colleagues. And I get them and I go, look, here's 3 piles. Confidentially, you need to tell me which pile each of your colleagues go in. And there's a pile for people they trust, people they don't trust, and people it's just too early for them to know. And this is what generally happens. They go, come in, and the first person will go, right, trust, a bit early. No, trust, oh, I don't trust him. Trust, a bit early, oh, I don't trust her. And it goes on like that. 80% of people they trust. Then you get some people that come in, and this is what they do. They go, don't trust him, don't trust her. No, don't trust. Nah. And they go on like that, and they don't trust anyone. And then ironically, and this is the ironic bit, is the same 2 people that came in and didn't trust anyone are the same 2 people no one trusts. Trust is a two-way process. So if you've got leaders, and I coach many of them, that micromanage, the message is you don't trust me because I don't trust you. And that all starts with a conversation. So I've got some prizes to bribe you. What I'd like to do is, back with your partners, I'd like you to think about having difficult conversations. I call them courageous. When we started that term about 10 years ago, there wasn't many people. Now there's difficult conversations, crucial conversations, and every other sort of conversation. We'll stick with courageous, which is what we started with. What percentage, and this was originally 10,500 managers, it's now way beyond 20,000 all from team leaders upwards, across sectors. And we asked them confidentially and anonymously, and that's important because they told us the truth, what percentage of you are brilliant at having difficult conversations? What percentage of you do it, but not in the right way? You might either hint at it and just hope the person lets you off, or you might get, through frustration, get a bit aggressive, or you might get friendly, matey. So we've got people that are highly effective, people that do it but not in the right way, and then those that just put them off for a variety of reasons. So in your teams, and they're prized for anyone as a team that gets the correct answers, what percentage of people said they put them off? That's the question. Go. So, first one to shout out the correct answer. Let's have one.
81.
81 said they were unable or unwilling. No, it wasn't that sad. 69 is very near. I think I'm going to give it to this team. It was actually 70% said they were unable or unwilling. You had that? Right, okay, I'll give you a book too. So, yeah, so 70% said they were unable or unwilling. Only 10% said they were role models, highly effective at having those sort of conversations. Only 10%. The research picked up by the BBC on Radio 4 and Radio 5, and it is a major issue for people. So in your teams again, and I've got 2 more books, what's the biggest reasons people gave for not having those conversations? And again, it was confidential, so they told us the truth, probably not what they tell their boss. Okay, in your tables again, what's the biggest reasons? Okay, everyone's going quiet, so I reckon we're about there. What do you reckon the biggest reason is? Fear. That is number 1. Could you pass that back? It is fear. But it's not fear of the conversation itself, actually. It's fear of the fallout. Won't my organisation back me up? Won't this person like me? Will it affect the other members of the team? Etc., etc., etc. So that's number 1, the biggest reasons. 27% of managers said they put off for over a year. Horrifyingly, KPMG, they found that 78% of a manager's wasted time at a root cause and not having a difficult conversation early. Horrifyingly, eh? £12 billion a year. Oh, 72%. Look, I'm rubbish at stats, obviously. 72%. So, thinking about trust then. Language is so important. We've already looked at spin, actually, has had a negative impact. People becoming more sceptical, actually, and quite rightly. So now we have to be more fact-based in what we say and avoid spin at all costs. Some things I often hear when I'm going around organisations, and some of the things I think, that's not building trust. Yeah? People saying things like, with all due respect, which means I'm just about to insult you. Or I heard someone say the other day, I was running a programme, we're talking about, in the VUCA world, dealing with uncertainty, and someone went, look, to be honest with you, which means they normally tell lies, this time they're telling the truth. Well, I know it doesn't mean that, and I do know it doesn't really mean that, but that's what people hear. Or I totally agree with you, however, which means they totally disagree with you. Or my personal favourite, trust me. If someone says to you, trust me, look for distrust everywhere. Yeah? Trust is something you give because you want to, not something that they ask for. Yeah? The biggest, and I mean the biggest killer of trust is self-orientation. Yeah? You can be totally credible, you can be totally reliable, do what you say you're going to do, you can have a really good depth relationship, but if you're only interested in yourself, people won't trust you. So some work by David Maver looked at, actually, self-orientation is the biggest killer of trust. And I often hear people, when you're going up that triangle to build the trust, saying things like, Rob, what did you go and where did you go on holiday this year? And he says he went to Crete. And I've used what I call a tag question. I go, lovely in Crete, I'll tell you where I went. And then I'll speak for the next 20 minutes about where I've been on holiday, because the only reason I asked him a question like that was so I could start focusing on me. With people that are self-orientated, there's only one thing that motivates them, and that is them, I believe. Your track record, interestingly, is 10 times more important than what you say. Your actions speak louder than your words. Just to demonstrate that, if everyone could stand up, please. I need you to be able to go like this. So I don't want any health and safety claims. The no-win, no-fee culture that we've now got, it's dangerous for me. I need you to follow my instructions exactly, please. Put your right hand out like that. Up like that. Down like that. We're doing well. To the side. Up and down. To the front. Very good. Turn it into a gun. Cup of tea. I knew you'd be posh. A little finger came out like that. To the side. Thumb and forefinger together. And then slowly bring it round and put it onto your chin. What did I say? Put it onto your chin. 90% of the room put it onto their cheek. Because our actions speak so much louder than our words in trust. Trust is a two-way process. It actually changes everything. Thank you. And that's me. My time is up. Thank you. Oh, we've got a question, please. Is it an easy one?
It is an easy one. So the biggest killer of trust is self-orientation. What
Yep.
is the biggest builder of trust in your experience?
I believe it's your actions.
So
And I also believe it's about being authentic. I actually, shouldn't say this, should I? I went on a 4-day program of how to be charismatic. It obviously hasn't worked. It hasn't. And I'm going to save you probably £3,000 of your money and 4 days of your life. It was all about being authentic. And it said you could cross out the word charisma and just being authentic. And I think that's the biggest builder of trust, yeah? Yes, your actions are the most important, and being authentic with that is key. If you try and be someone else, everyone knows it. Yeah, it seeps through our pores. So I think being authentic makes you charismatic. If you know who you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there, I think that's so much easier. When we started the business in '95, I always remember we had a conversation about being professional. We were more corporate with ties, etc., and that's great. And it weren't really who we were. And our business went through the roof the moment we become authentic. And I do believe that's the biggest contextual builder of trust, but also as characters. Because as humans, I think I started saying, we look for connection, and that's key. So that was a long way of me saying authenticity. I should have just said that, shouldn't I? Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.